Let's talk about it now with Senator Jeff Flake. He's a Republican from Arizona who sits on the Foreign Relations and Judiciary Committees. He is also a member of the Gang of Eight that is working on immigration reform, one of the big stories of the week and certainly of this term in Congress. Senator Flake, thanks very much for being with us. I know you.
Thanks for having me on, John.
You took some time out of a hearing to talk to us, and we appreciate that. Thanks. So what can you tell the American people? There were lots of false alarms yesterday, reports of an arrest in this Boston Marathon bombing. Turned out not to be the case. What do you say to the American people about your level of confidence that this thing will be resolved?
I think we're all pretty confident that it will be, but we've got to be patient. This takes a while. There's a lot of footage to comb through. A lot of people have been very helpful and have just inundated the FBI with information. So I think that's a good thing. It just takes a while to comb through it.
All right. And then on the other big story of the week, gun control. It was voted down. The proposal that was brought to the Senate was voted down yesterday. President Obama not very happy about that. Here's what he had to say after that vote. Listen. All right. I thought we had that, but we do not. I'm sorry. At any rate, he said it was basically an embarrassment for the U.S. Senate not to have passed the legislation. Your response?
I think there are things that we can do to improve background checks. I think a lot of us had real issues with the Manchin-Toomey approach. In my case, I thought that it encroached into private sales too much. So it's not that we Republicans don't want to do something on this, and most of us do. In fact, I think all of us do. That just wasn't the right approach, and hopefully we'll be able to find that.
There are, the president obviously had the support of Harry Reid. Harry Reid says he's going to, do everything he can, move heaven and earth to bring this legislation back in a form that can pass. But it has been said that Senator Reid, the majority leader, didn't do all that he could have done to try to muscle this thing through if he really wanted it.
Well, I'm not sure. It failed by a number of votes, so they would have had to do quite a bit more. I think the best thing to do is change the legislation and seek broader input on some of these measures. And so I think there are things we can do. I think all of us want to keep guns out of the hands of criminals and those with mental illness. And so I think we can do it. We just got to have the right approach, and we didn't see it yesterday.
One of the arguments was that the legislation that was proposed would not have changed anything in Newtown, Connecticut. Do you agree?
Well, it's hard to say, and I think let me just tell you, for myself, I did meet with some of the victims there, and I feel for them, and I think they have every right to be here, and I'm glad they are. But I just think that we need to find the right approach that will not only affect incidents like at Newtown or Tucson, but that will help with gun violence in general.
So on to immigration now. You are part of what has become known as the Gang of Eight, a bipartisan group, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, who are trying to change this nation's immigration laws. We finally got a look at that 844-page bill. There are some who are already decrying one of the triggers, the fact that the border would be required to be certified as secure before some of the other reforms could take place. Let me get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think it's extremely important. Those of us in Arizona have borne the brunt of the federal government's failure to have a secure border for years now. And so it was important in this legislation to have some triggers to say that until we have certain measurements at the border and certain levels of security, then we can't move on to the other items of the bill. I think these are achievable. We'll have a hearing with Secretary Napolitano tomorrow, the first hearing on this bill. We'll have another hearing on Monday. So we'll go through regular order to make sure that we have input. But in the end, I think we'll have increased border security and a system of legal immigration moving ahead that will help this country out significantly.
And do I have it right that those who are here illegally would face a wait of at least 13 years to become legalized citizens under this plan as it stands now?
That is correct. It's a hard and arduous path for those who are here illegally if they seek to become a citizen, for them to get there. It involves payment of fees and fines and long waits on probation, basically. And then more fees and fines, and the requirement to learn English has moved up to green card, not just citizenship. So it's significant but important. What you can't do is reward those who have come here illegally over those who have gone through the legal, orderly process. And we think this bill strikes that balance, and it'll be good for all of us.
Final question, Senator. There's been the ricin scare, as you well know, on Capitol Hill. Your own office received some letters that were thought to be suspicious, but I guess turned out not to contain ricin. Just your thoughts about that kind of thing as a public servant at a time like this?
You know, it's extremely worrying. When somebody targets a senator by sending something through the mail, it doesn't reach the senator. It obviously is handled by postal employees and then the staff. And so it's extremely concerning to us, and my office, I think, was right to flag some suspicious letters that came through. Fortunately, it turned out to be harmless, but we're all a bit on edge over here.
Yeah. Senator Jeff Flake, we can certainly understand why, and we'll let you get back to your hearing. Republican from Arizona.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're